can never figure out how to say hello at the beginning of these podcasts. It's the thing I struggle with the most, because I just sound crazy if I go, hi. So I think maybe I might just start with a buenos dias, because it is morning here in Calgary. Welcome to my knitting room. If you're new here, my name is Melissa. I am Stitches Be Slippin on Instagram, and here on YouTube, this is the Stitches Be Slippin knitting podcast mostly. I dabble in a few other things because I have ADHD and get distracted easily, but mostly I knit. I do have one finished object today that is not knitting, but that I did hyperfixate on quite a bit because it was very addictive. Anyway, it's been a while, so I think the last time I was on here was we had just gotten home from the cabin the second time. So now the boys are back in school, thank goodness. What has happened since then? Anyway, sorry, if you're new here, hi, welcome. As my friends at that's Kevin and Ray. But hi, Kevin and Ray. I always they both have needles in their names, so I get them confused. Are from my friends at the We Share Needles podcast, Maddie and Kristen, as they like to start out their podcasts these days. They like to say, hi, we're lefty liberals, and if you don't like that, you might not like us. And so I would also like to say hello. My name is Melissa. I grew up in a small town in central Alberta and somehow turned out a flaming left-wing liberal. And yeah, so if you don't like that, please just feel free to keep on going and find someone else, because you probably aren't gonna like it here. Anyway, things that have been going on. When we got home from the cabin last time, as I said in my last, I think it was my last video, my cat Sophie passed away in between our two visits to the cabin in the summer. And so when we got home from our second trip to the cabin, we suddenly had a mouse infestation in our house. So apparently having Sophie had been either keeping them at bay and they had not wanted to come in the house because they could sense or smell her or something, or she was just, she had caught a few mice and left them in, I think maybe 2 or 3. One year she caught one and put it under the Christmas tree for us as a present, which was disgusting. But she didn't it wasn't like frequent, and we haven't found any like piles of mouse bones under the stairs or anything like that. So I think she had just been keeping them at bay, just having her in our house. But we have caught, I think, 8 or 9 mice since we've been home. I think we have gotten most of them, but there's one wily, sneaky one that we see it every once in a while. Just if it's really quiet, it just goes, we're like, ah. So we're still trying to catch that one. The very first one we caught, we had just gotten home from the cabin, and Dave, my husband, could hear rustling, and he was like, what is that? What is that noise? And he followed the sound, and he went over to, there we have one of those IKEA cubes, sort of like that, but just one level, with books in it. And one of the cubes has Halloween, like tote bags with Halloween candy in it from last year. My kids are very slow candy eaters. And so they had still some Halloween candy in there, and it's like down on the floor underneath some windows. And the mouse he's like, oh, it's in the bag. So he like grabbed the bag and cinched it up and took it outside and like let the mouse out. And he's like, that was the biggest, fattest mouse I've ever seen. This mouse had just been sitting in the Halloween candy and like gorging itself for 2 weeks while we were gone. And anyway, so that was the beginning. And then we caught a bunch since then, and we still have one on the loose, but that's better than lots. Yeah, so then once we got home, the boys, if you're new here, I have 2 boys. They're 8 and 10. Well, one's almost 9. 8-year-old's almost 9. And the 10-year, well, they're almost 2 years apart in age. They're like 3 months shy of 2 years apart. So they're only 1 year apart in school, but they're almost 2 years apart in age. But those 3 months, so there's like in November, my youngest will turn 9, and then they'll be 9 and 10. And those 3 months, I swear to God, are the only times in the entire year that I ever get asked how old they are. And then I have to say they're 9 and 10, and then people think I'm crazy. Not that you're crazy for having kids close together, but like that is the general reaction of people when you say that they're 9 and 10. And then I have to say, they're almost like, one was born in February, and then the next year, almost another 2 years later, one was born in November. Anyway, yes, so they're 8 and 10 now, and so they just started grades 4 and grades 5, and very happy with their teachers. My youngest got the same teacher that my oldest had last year, which is fantastic. She's amazing and very knitworthy and loves all the things that I knit her, so that makes me happy. So once we got home from the cabin, the boys did some camps, some summer camps, which I really, really loved. Oh, were they at summer camp last time? They might have been at summer camp last time I did my podcast. I can't remember if I talked about this already. So yeah, my oldest did a basketball camp, and he absolutely loved it. He has gotten into basketball recently and just is obsessed with it. Has watched the original Space Jam a bunch of times, and the new Space Jam with LeBron he's watched like 15 times probably. Most of those were like when we drove out to the island and drove back to the island the first trip to the cabin. They watched Space Jam on repeat. Like I think they watched, I think 12 hours there, 12 hours home in the van, and they watched it pretty much the whole time. Anyway, so he did a basketball camp. My youngest did a science camp at the University of Calgary. Did I mention? Yeah, I think I've said Calgary. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, if you didn't know. And he loved his science camp. It was really, really cool. He got really into science. A couple years ago, he had a student teacher, like every once in a while, in the classrooms, they'll have a student teacher come in to do like a practicum who's still in university and come in and just get their feet wet in the classroom or whatever. And this teacher, his name was Senor Salas, and he was very into science and loved doing science projects and stuff with the kids. And that got my youngest, I try not to say their names, that got him really into science, and so he really wanted to take a science camp. So we set him up at the university, and it was a biology focused camp. So he got to do some really cool stuff. Like they were in a real lab at the university. They got to look in microscopes. I think the first day they were looking at plant cells versus animal cells and learning how to distinguish the difference between them. And then the next day they like swabbed the insides of their cheeks and then put those cells under the microscope to look at, which was really neat. They did a whole bunch of other stuff and learned, like one day they were learning about, what am I trying to say? Bacteria, and like the importance of washing your hands. And they did like a UV light over their hands before and after washing their hands to see like all the bacteria and why it's important to wash your hands. And then on the last day, he was supposed to dissect a starfish or sea star, but I guess their shipment didn't come in on time, and so he ended up dissecting a pig's eye, which sounds really disgusting. And he was pretty grossed out by it, but he was like, it was so gross, but it was also really cool. So I don't know, I just thought that was really cool. He was 8 years old and already like dissecting stuff in this biology camp. So he was really, really, really into it. So that was really awesome. And they were both in the same camps, or basketball camp and science camp were the full, like both the same week, full days. So that was nice. Yeah, and then after that, they did a few hockey camps to get ready for hockey season. Hockey evaluations started yesterday for us. For some other community associations, they've started already before that. Yeah, so they did hockey camps. And then our hockey association set up some pre-evaluation ice times for everyone, because not everyone has the opportunity or the means to do summer hockey camps, which is good. So it gets everybody out on the ice before evaluations. And so we sent our boys to those. And then my youngest was, last year when he was playing, he was on a pretty good team, and he was just kind of like, like practicing his twirls in the corner and that kind of stuff. Like, he loves being on a team, and he loves being in the dressing room and having all his friends and just like blah, blah, blah. And he is a very social little butterfly. But when it came to the actual game of hockey, he wasn't super interested and didn't really, like, he wasn't like going for it. And I know that sometimes they grow out of this, but he has been like this for a long time. And so when he went to his pre-skates, my husband was watching the last one, and they were scrimmaging, and this year is his first year in full ice. The games will be full ice with offsides and icing and all that kind of stuff. And so it would be much more obvious if he wasn't trying and just kind of twirling around, and he would be letting his team down if he wasn't putting in the effort that is required to be on a hockey team. So we sat him down and had a chat with him and told him he really needed to think about it if he wanted to play hockey. And we laid out all of those reasons without putting him down in any way. And so he did come to the conclusion that he doesn't want to play hockey this year. I think the biggest thing was he didn't want to let down his dad. And so he was worried about that, because just my husband grew up playing hockey and that's what he knows, and he gets excited about it, and he's not putting any pressure on the littlest one to play. And to be honest, he was pretty relieved when he said he wasn't going to play, because it was just a big source of frustration for us when we would go and all the other kids would be just trying their hardest and going 110% every second on the ice, and he was just like, la, 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 la. So yeah, I'm actually really proud of him for making that decision. It's a pretty big decision to make when you're 8, but he can always go back to it. Like, he's a good skater. He's got all the skills. Anyway, I don't have to justify it to all the people on the internet. Anyway, this is just what's been going on in my life. So he's not doing hockey this year. My oldest is still doing hockey because he loves it. So I've got my youngest set up where he's gonna just try a bunch of other things to see what he likes. We found a badminton set on the side of the road at the cabin this summer, and we set it up in our backyard, and he absolutely loved that and stood out there and made everyone play badminton with him for hours and hours. So I got him signed up for badminton program lessons, whatever you want to call it, and he's gonna do some rock climbing lessons, which will be fun. And there's all kinds of things, lots and lots of opportunity and lots of time now that he won't be at the rink 3 or 4 times a week. So we're excited to find something that he's really good at. He was really, really good at gymnastics. He's like the exact body type for gymnastics. He started gymnastics when he was like 2 or 3, just doing recreational, like mom and toddler or whatever. And then he was just really good at it. And they said, you know, if he wants to try out for the competitive, they didn't go to competitions or anything, but they did more hours of training. And he was amazing at that. Like, he's fearless and throws himself off of stuff, and he loves like hanging on stuff, and like, anyway, he was amazing at it. But then once he got, when was that, grade 2 or grade 3, I think they wanted him to do, like, that age group were required to do, I think it was 12 hours of training a week. So he would have gone to school all day and then gymnastics from 4 till 7 twice a week, and then 4 hours on one day on the weekend. And he was like, hard pass, nope, thank you, So unfortunately we had to give up gymnastics, but also his decision, right? He didn't want to do that much. Did you think that you were going to be listening to me talk about my 8-year-old's sporting endeavors for 10 minutes at the beginning of a knitting podcast? Probably not. I'll put a little warning at the beginning again, because for some reason, I don't know, this is just how my brain works. I have to talk about all of the things before I talk about my knitting, because that's just how it, sorry if that bugs you. Yeah, we've also been doing a lot of skateboarding recently. My kids got really into skateboarding about a year ago, last year maybe, or 2 years ago. And I would take them to all these skate parks and stuff like that, and I would be sitting there and they would be having so much fun, and I was like, that looks like a lot of fun. And so one day I just got on one of their skateboards in our backyard and tried it out and decided I wanted to try. So I got my own skateboard, got my like helmet, elbow pads, wrist pads, knee pads, all of the things that old people need when they're skateboarding. Yeah, and I started skateboarding with them, and so we've been going to some skate parks this year again. And then I signed up recently for some skateboarding lessons. There's an indoor skate park here that's not too far away from my house, so I'm going to skateboarding lessons on Thursday nights, which unfortunately is the same time as my friend Nicole, Prof Pearl on Instagram. She has a Zoom knit night on that night, so unfortunately it's at the same time. But anyway, I still get to watch her podcast on YouTube, so that's awesome. I'm just about finished her last one. I'm gonna watch that after I do this. So yeah, I'll put a video up here of this was the end of my first skateboarding lesson, which was last week. And it might not look like much, but it is a very, like when I stand at the beginning with my skateboard up like this, and then I drop in on a ramp, that is very scary. And then I go towards this other ramp and I go up and turn around and come back down. That is also very scary. So I was very proud. You can see, I don't know if I'll put the sound on, but at the end of it, I go, woohoo! Because I like did the thing and then I did the thing and did them like both at the same, it was awesome. Anyway, what else happened? We went to a wedding. The whole family went back out to the island again, but this time a different place on the island for a wedding in my husband's family. So that was good. I'll show you what I wore. That's one of my FOs. I'm happy to report that my Golden Girls came home. My mother-in-law brought them for me. We left them behind accidentally when we came home last time from the island. So you can see up here, this is Blanche, and there's Sophia and Dorothy and Rose over there. Blanche and Rose, their heads are really heavy and they have trouble standing up on their own. So I have to like prop them up against something up there, but they're home. So the girls are home, that's good. And yeah, it was just a quick trip. We flew to the island Friday night, wedding Saturday, flew home Sunday. So when we flew home, I was sitting there, I got my knitting out, knitting away, and I looked over and like my kids were in the row right beside us, but in the row behind them, there was another woman like in the window seat knitting, and there was a guy sitting beside her. I don't know if they didn't seem to be, I don't know if they were together or not, but like I didn't want to like talk over him and whatever. So we made contact and I went, and so that was fun. Just another knitter in the wild. Yeah, like I said, school started, so thank God they're back in school. This is the first year that I haven't been required to be at the door for pickup to like transfer power or whatever you want to call it, transfer custody of the child from the teacher to the parent, because my youngest is now in grade 4, and in our school anyway, up to grade 3, the parent has to be there to pick them up. So now I can sit in my car and knit and wait for them to come to me. It's amazing. Very much enjoying it. Yeah, very nice. what else? Knit night has started again, which is nice. We don't do the knit night that I go to is organized by Jen, who is the Fiber Goddess on Instagram. If you don't follow her, you should follow her. She has amazing, beautiful yarn. So she runs or organizes a knit night in Calgary, and so that has started up again. That started up again last week. It's full of just really wonderful, warm, kind, funny, silly, just wonderful people, full of knitters. Knitters are wonderful people, right? We're all very similar we all align in our flaming left-wing liberal views, so that's kind of nice. And yeah, so it's just nice to sit in a room with other people who love the same things as you, especially when it's kind of like a niche thing that you're into, like knitting. And you can just be like, ooh, what's that? And what yarn is that? And just talk about things and people understand what you're talking about, which is nice, which is also what this podcast is for, because I like showing off my knitting, but not everyone wants to see it. So I like that you guys choose to watch and see my knitting, and I'm not foisting it upon you. So that's nice. I haven't drank all of my tea yet, so here, this is my awesome knit stitch sticker on my Yeti that I use every day. Okay. Ooh, that shook. Sorry, that shook the camera. Yeah, I think that's all my life updates. So I'll put in the beginning, like skip forward to 20 minutes later if you don't want to listen to all my jibber jabber. I will start off with what I'm wearing. This will be the knitting portion of the podcast. This I am wearing. I made a second Amapola cardigan because where's my first one? If you will remember, I made this one a while ago, this gorgeous pink one. This was a kit from You Knit Toronto, who also is the designer of the pattern. And so as soon as I saw the pattern, I ordered the kit and made it, and it's wonderful. This one was made with Drops Air and I think it was tin silk mohair. I think that's what is in the kit held together. It's like a worsted, almost bulky gauge. And so it knit up really fast, and it's extremely light, but it's extremely cozy. And I wear it almost every day. It quickly replaced everything else in my knitting wardrobe as the most worn knit I have ever made. So I decided I probably should make another one before I destroy this one. So I had this yarn, which I didn't, hang on. It's over here. I think. Found it. This is the yarn that I used. I had a bunch of this in my stash. It's Hobby or Hobie, however you say it. And it's the Divina base, which is, it's basically like Lion Brand Chainette or Drops Air or everything under sort of in that, because it's a tube that the fiber is blown into, so it's really, really light and fluffy. The yarn is 65% baby alpaca, 25% polyamide, and 10% merino wool. So I think the 25% polyamide or mide is the tube, and then the alpaca and wool is blown into the tube. I think, I don't know, could just be talking out of my ass. Who knows? But I used, I think, 5 skeins of this. I had a bunch of this in here. I was going to make a like long duster cardigan, and then I realized, yeah, right. I can just buy one of those because that will take forever. So this is my second Amapola cardigan. I chose not to put buttons on it or make buttonholes at all because I never do that one, the pink one, up. So I figured save myself some effort and time. If you can't read my shirt, it says protect trans kids. Yeah, protect them. They're just kids. They just want to be who they are. There are a lot of anti-trans bills being proposed and things in the States. It is also starting to amp up here. Our Conservative Party recently had a, whatever you call those, conferences or whatever, and voted to start trying, like if they are elected in the next federal election, to start passing some anti-trans, gender affirming care, or like opposing or banning all that kind of stuff, which is not okay. A lot of people don't understand that gender affirming care doesn't just mean like removing breasts or augment, or it doesn't necessarily just mean top surgery or bottom surgery. That is the very, very, very end of gender affirming care. Gender affirming care means a lot of things. It can mean just using the pronouns that the child wants you to use, calling them the name that they want you to use. It could be binders, just like for trans boys to flatten their chest. It could be hormone therapy, which is completely reversible. It can just be a million things. And all of these things are supervised by medical professionals who know what they're doing and talking about. And under the supervision of parents, all of these things, the very, very, very end of gender affirming care can be top surgery or bottom surgery. That is the very end, and that does not just happen willy-nilly. It is, kids go through psychotherapy, not psychotherapy, it's psychology. It's very frustrating when people only think of gender affirming care as just surgery. Like, children are not having their genitals removed just willy-nilly. Children aren't having their genitals removed at all. It can't happen until after they're 18, when they're an adult and can make their own decisions. Anyway, sorry, rant over. Sorry, not sorry, because it's just fucking ridiculous. Okay? Okay, let's take a breath. Protect trans kids. End of story. So this is my first FO. I will move on to my next FO, which was damn near an FO last time. So it sort of counts as an FO because I still had one tiny little sleeve left, but here it is. This is my Miserina. I'm not gonna like do the Oscar show million costume changes this time, but this is it. It's blocked out gorgeous. This yarn is really, really soft and drapey. So this pattern is the Miserina by Caitlin Hunter, and the yarn I used is the yellowy mustardy color, was by the Wool Baron. I can't remember what the colorway is, but it was on her Everything But Socks base, which was 100% something merino. It was like a micron or something like that. Just no nylon in it, so it was really, 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 really nice. And then the contrast color is Ancient Arts. Also, it was like I've talked about this a few times on previous podcasts. So if you're really interested and haven't watched that yet, you just pop on over and watch another one. And I definitely talked about all the specific yarn bases and colors in my last episode. So hop on over, then hop on back. While you're hopping, just hit like and subscribe and share my video to everyone that you know. I don't know. I was thinking about this the other day about how some people just make so much content and make videos like every week and are making all these different, like, not just podcasts, but like, I don't know. I don't have the energy. So I was like, well, how come everyone else has all these followers and all these subscribers and all this? And like, I try not to get caught up in that. It's hard not to sometimes. But at the same time, I'm just like, they're working way harder than I am. Like, I think I've put out 3 episodes in like 3 months or something, so they're working way harder than I am, so they deserve all of that stuff, and I just don't have the effort, or I don't have the energy, or frankly the desire to do all of that. Even just doing 1 episode is just like a lot for my brain, so we're just gonna keep trucking. I mean, it doesn't really matter. What else am I gonna talk about? Oh, I mentioned that we went to a wedding. I decided the weekend before we were going to the wedding, I hadn't decided what I was gonna wear yet. And then I decided I was going to make myself a cute little camisole tank top to wear to the wedding. So that is what I did. This is called the Sunset Camisole. It's a little wrinkly because it's been sitting here all folded up. But like the drape is out of this world. I will tell you about the yarn in a second. I'm going to put a picture up right here of my wedding outfit. It was popping off. So yeah, it's so fun. The only thing I would change is I would, oh hi, maybe this will be my screenshot. I would like the ruffle to be rufflier, which I'm not gonna actually do anything about. My friend Shreya of Shreya Knits, she made one of these. She was the inspiration for this. She made one of these not too long ago and posted it, and I was like, that's really cute. And then that was kind of like in the back of my mind. And then when I needed something to wear to a wedding, I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. Anyway, she made hers, and then recently she ripped out her ruffle and redid it to make it more ruffly. So I'm not gonna do that. Like, I want to, but honestly, I'm not going to. So that is my Sunset Camisole. Here is my yarn. I used Lion Brand True Boo, which is 100% rayon from bamboo. So it is like, you can't even get it to like, it is so drapey and like floppy, and like it's like a wet noodle or something else, but I won't go there. This is just, the colorway is just called white. I got this from, oh, what's the name? I think it's Squidgy Yarn Co. She's a local maker in Calgary, and she carries Lion Brand yarn. So if you're like, if you can't find your Lion Brand anywhere, or you would prefer to buy from a small, like woman-run small business, small business run by a woman. Yeah, she carries lots of Lion Brand yarn, so go check her out. Squidgy Yarn Co. I think that's right. If that's not right, I'll just put down here what it is. But I ordered it and she delivered it the next day. So boom, done. Yeah. Oh, it's so floppy that I put it and it just fell on the floor. But the drape on that camisole is just, ooh, it's like, it feels like silk. Like it's beautiful. It is so cheap. It was like, I don't know, $5 or $6 a ball. I used 1.5 balls of it. Yeah. Oh, did I say who the pattern was by? It's called the Sunset Camisole. It's by Sari Nordland, if I didn't say that. As usual, I will put all my pattern names, pattern designers, yarn dyers, etc. all in my show notes below, which I've been told before are spectacular, so you should check them out. And my next, my last knitting FO is a test knit that I did for Tori Yu. She is Tori Knits YYC, no, not YYC, that's Calgary. She is Tori Knits NYC, which is New York, on Instagram. And she posted, I just happened to be on Instagram, I think at the right time, right after she had posted looking for testers for a new sweater vest, and I applied and was chosen. So the pattern is not out yet, The deadline is this Wednesday. So all the testers have to have their feedback in by this Wednesday, and then I'm assuming that the pattern will be released shortly thereafter once she's got everything all good to go. So this is called the Manhattan Vest, and I'm not going to put it on, but once it is released, I did ask Tori's permission if I could show this on here because it's not out yet. She didn't want anyone posting FO pictures or modeled pictures or whatever on Instagram. So I emailed her and asked her if I could show it on the podcast, and she said it was okay. So, okay. So it's called the Manhattan Vest. It has options for a mock neck, turtleneck, or just a crew neck. I chose the turtleneck because I love turtlenecks. I didn't make mine as high as the pattern called for, but that was the only modification I made. It was supposed to be, I think, 4.5 inches. And I don't have a very long neck, so that would have been too much. So I think I did 3.5. And I'll stand up and show you. So it's a short sleeve, so it's a vest. But the gorgeous part of it is all this ribbing in the front and this really deep split hem on the sides. So it looks really, really cute on. There's a really interesting, when you're doing the sleeves, lots of times when you do the sleeves, this part fits a little funny. So she added in a special little technique in there to make the underarm fit better. Perfect. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to use that. That hand gesture has been co-opted by some very bad people, so pretend I didn't do that. I think it's that one. Anyway, the yarn I used is Polka Dot Creek, which is where I work as a yarn dyer if you're new here. This is the classic worsted base, and the colorway is chocolate. And it's coming up just because I'm in not direct sunlight, but right beside natural sunlight. It's a little bit lighter, but it's very beautiful. So this was a birthday sweater quantity last year, maybe. When you work at Polka Dot Creek, you get a sweater quantity for your birthday. I'll talk more about that in a minute. But anyway, this was Polka Dot Creek, classic worsted in chocolate. So keep an eye on my Instagram feed, probably next week. I'm not sure. I don't know what the release date is yet, but that pattern is coming out soon. It knit up really fast because it's worsted weight. This for sure was a lot of ribbing, but it's worsted weight, so it goes really fast. So you should definitely check that out when it comes out. If you have some worsted weight burning a hole in your stash, that would be perfect. What else have I got to show you? I think I will move on. Oh no, I have one more whip that is not knitting related. I finished my diamond painting. It's not painting, but this is it. So if you can see, it's a whole bunch of little, they call them gems. They're just like little dots. And you pick them up with sort of like a sticky pen. And this is all sticky paper. Like, can you hear my fingers stick to it? It's like fly paper, sort of. So you pick up the little gems, and it's all color coded. So all of the underneath here is all the numbers or symbols of what color you put where. It's basically like paint by number, but without paint. So that turned out really well. It was a lot, took a long time. Well, it didn't take a long time, but lots of hours. This is something where if I sat down and started doing this, I was doing nothing else for the rest of the day or the rest of the evening or whatever. It's super, super, super addictive. I really enjoyed making that. I actually bought another one. This one's smaller, but I'm going to make a little rainbow heart. And I bought a little frame to put it in. Ooh, I have something that's gonna fall down over there. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that one. I'd probably have to find a frame. I don't even know what size it is. I have to find a frame to put that in and hang it up. But I bought this like sort of neon green to go for this. So this one is quite a bit smaller than that one, so it won't interfere with my knitting time quite as much as this one did. I would have had more FOs if I hadn't been working on my diamond painting so much. Oh, tea tastes so good when you put 10 pounds of sugar in it. Just saying. It tastes so much better. Okay, let's move on to whips. Let's talk about whips, baby. Sorry. First off is my wool gathering shawl, which is a beautiful pattern by Nicole, who is Prof Pearl on Instagram. And I'm trying to think if it's Prof Pearl or Professor Pearl on YouTube. It's one of the two. If you go check out her Instagram feed, you will find her YouTube channel, or you can just, I'll put it down below. How about that? Anyway, she started a shawl knit along on September 1st called Fall Shawls, y'all. Ah, Nicole, I'm better at saying it than you are. She struggles every time she tries to say it, and I laugh every time. It's Fall Shawls, y'all. I should be Southern. I'm Canadian, but I should be Southern. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to be Southern. I want to be Canadian. I am me. And I'm rambling, and my wool gathering shawl has not seen a lot of work. I have some other things that are like my main whips, but I work on this every once in a while. And she started her shawl fall along. Oh, that was karma right there for making fun of her. She started this shawl knit along, and so I wanted to work on it a little bit more. And so I started working on it, and I haven't, or like kept working. Anyway, it's not getting a lot of attention, but it will get attention at some point. But it is living in the most beautiful, most amazing project bag you've ever seen in your entire life. Are you ready for it? Sorry, I just heard, are you ready for it? Taylor Swift in my head. Ta-da! Yes, that says emotional support yarn. So, when I was at the cabin the first time, this summer, first trip, I was carrying around, I think it was one of my fringe bags. I was carrying it around everywhere I went. We would go to the beach, we would go for a walk, we would go to the fire hall to use the Wi-Fi, we would go to the next cabin, we would go whatever. Everywhere I went, I was carrying my yarn. And lots of times I wouldn't, or my project, lots of times I wouldn't knit on it, but I always wanted to have it with me. I know all of you knitters understand how this feels. Like if you get somewhere and you could be knitting and you don't have your knitting, like if there's even the remotest opportunity that you might sit down for 10 minutes and not have anything to do with your hands, it's like, you don't want it to happen. So I was just carrying around everywhere I went, and I started joking around that it was my emotional support yarn. And then I was like, ding, I need a project bag that says emotional support yarn on it. So I got back to work after we got home in between our two trips, and Penny from Creek Gardens Crafts is Shelly of Polka Dot Creek's mom. Penny is Shelly's mom, and she makes project bags. And I asked her if I could design, like use her small drawstring bag design, but pick out all the fabrics. And she also makes like t-shirts and sweaters and stuff, so she can put lettering and sayings and things on stuff. And so I asked her if I could pick out some fabrics and have her make me a custom bag. So that's what she did. She brought in, I love the like neon Tula pink fabric. This is all neon Tula pink. She had one in the shop that was like neon green polka dots, and then I was like, I really like this, and she said, I have this whole line at home. And so the next week she brought all the fabric in, and I picked this, of course, because this is me, right? And she made it, and I absolutely love it. So it says emotional support yarn. It's drawstring. It has a little handle, and the inside is purple and pink pinstripes. Like, mic drop, project bag drop. It's just, it's the best project bag in the entire world. In here's living my wool gathering shawl, which I was talking about. So it hasn't made a lot of progress, but it's made a little, so I'll show it. Do I have my yarn tags in here? Thank goodness. So this yarn is a bundle that I bought at the Beehive Wool Shop in Victoria, British Columbia, and it is called the Halo Bundle, and it is by Handmaiden Fine Yarn and Fleece Artist. So it was 2 skeins of yarn, 1 skein of singles fingering, and 1 skein of merino, or sorry, not merino. I keep saying that. 1 skein of mohair. So the, oh, it doesn't say on there. The singles is just 100% superwash merino fingering, and then the mohair is, dang it, the mohair is 70% mohair, 30% nylon. And they're in the rose gold colorway, which I think I forgot to say when I was talking about it previously. But so the shawl is just, you alternate sections, a fingering section, mohair section, fingering section. And I've just started the lace section within the fingering. You can't really tell super, there's some, yeah, I haven't gotten too far into it yet. So there's garter sections and lace sections, and the lace section is not hard at all. Very easy to remember. What I've become concerned about is that it's an I-cord edging, and through no fault of the pattern designer, this is not Nicole's fault at all. I think I just have been knitting it too tight. And so it is there is no stretch whatsoever. So I'm a little worried about that, about like when I finish it, if it's gonna like pucker in a little bit. So that has stopped me from working on it for a little while, just because I'm trying to decide if I should start it over again, because I haven't gotten very far. So it's at a point where I could just start over again and try it again. But I love this yarn. I love this combo, and it will be absolutely beautiful when if I ever finish it. I will finish it. I just don't know when. I actually messaged Nicole and asked her, and she said hers was really tight and she was worried about it too. So I think I might just keep going and just make a really conscious effort to just try and knit those edge stitches as loosely as I possibly can. So that is my wool gathering shawl by Nicole of Professor Pearl. And again, I will put all the links down below to the patterns and the designers and yarns and stuff. Okay. My main squeeze right now, my main whip that has been getting all of the attention is, let me take it all out. Like I'm not gonna, just like, this is my chart situation. Didn't want to show you the cable chart because this is a paid for pattern, so I'm not gonna give you shit for free. But yeah, that's like all my tally marks, and I've got my highlighter tape on which row that I'm doing. This is called the Winter's Beach cardigan. It is by Andrea Mowry, Drea Renee Knits on Instagram. And this is my birthday sweater quantity this year. So I'm doing really well. I got my birthday sweater quantity and immediately cast it on. Oh, I forgot to talk about the bag that, I'll talk about that after. I think I showed it last time, but I will show it again because it's gorgeous. This is going to be a little tricky to show you because I'm working on the back at the moment. How am I gonna do this? I need some stoppers. Let's some stoppers on my needles so I don't massively fuck this up. Okay, now that is, oh my god, hold please. Here we go. So it's a bottom up cardigan. So this, okay. This is the left front, and then I separated and I'm working the back. I've already done, after I separated, I have worked the right front, and now I am working on building up the back. So I'll put a picture up here of what it's actually gonna look like when it's not a hot mess, which it is at the moment. But this yarn is my sweater quantity yarn for my birthday. It is Polka Dot Creek in DK Tweed. It is a kind of sort of custom color. We have natural, I don't think I have any natural DK Tweed. It's really not that far off of our natural color. It's just a little bit different. We have a sand colorway. It's like just like a beige sand. So I wanted it lighter than that. So I just did like less saturation of dye, and this is how it turned out. And I love it. This is exactly what I wanted. I just wanted it to be like not natural cream white, but not like dark beige. As I've said before, I'm in my beige era. So I'm just owning it, and I've always wanted something with lots of cables, and this has lots of cables. So there's across the back, there's a moss stitch section, or it's double moss stitch, I guess she calls it. And that's the back. Pretty gorgeous. So a couple things that I've learned with this cardigan, which is pretty amazing. Number one, I learned to cable without a cable needle, which is fucking amazing. Yeah, I have not used a cable needle once in this entire thing. So Andrea Mowry has an excellent short to the point tutorial on how to cable without a cable needle. So I watched that before I started this, and it's amazing. Like, I will never use a cable needle again. Well, maybe if, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say that. I say I'll never do things a lot and then I end up doing them. So, but yeah, it's awesome being able to, it's very, I can't even tell you, it's so awesome. It's so freeing to not have to like keep track of my cable needle. I lose it all the time. I like stick it in my sweater, I have it in my mouth, or like stick it like in my hair or whatever, and I always lose it. And like some of these rows you're going across and you're doing cables on every section. Some of them are just doing a couple sections, and like it's really nice not to be beholden to my cable needle. What else was I going to say about that? I don't know. It's really good. And then the other thing that I learned how to do, which made me feel pretty amazing, is that on one of these cables somewhere, I don't even know which one it is now because it looks perfect now. One of these guys up here that go up and out and just look beautiful. One of these guys I cabled the wrong way. So instead of this coming out, it came up and then started going back this way because I wasn't paying attention to my chart. Only on this one, like the entire row, I did everything else right, but just this one, I did the wrong way for some reason. And I didn't notice it until I was about like 10 more rows up. So I contemplated just not fixing it, which is my general MO. I never, ever, ever rip back. I never, ever, ever fix things. but I knew it was gonna drive me crazy. Like, this was a big enough mistake that I knew I had to fix it. And there was no fucking way I was ripping back 10 rows to go. And so I searched up how to ladder down to fix a cable on YouTube, and I found an excellent tutorial, also short and to the point, but exactly the information that I needed. And I will put that link to that video down below because it's awesome. It is by Berroco yarn. It's not like a high quality video, like it's not like super crisp and clear, but it is exactly what I needed. So yeah, I laddered down. I'll put a picture here. Well, I'll put some pictures here. So one will be of what it looked like before when it was cabled the wrong way. And then I'll put a picture of the disaster when I laddered down and ripped, like, isolated the 6 or 9 stitches or whatever that I needed, ripped those all down, and then fixed my cable and knit all the way back up. It was amazing. I felt like I had just like solved world peace or something. Like I had just saved the world from annihilation or something. Like I was like a superhero at the end of the movie that has just saved the world. Pretty much. That was the feeling of laddering down and fixing my cable. Yeah, pretty awesome. The other thing that I forgot that I was going to say before about learning to cable without a cable needle is how I'm remembering which way to do it. So when you're when you're knitting along and then you get to the stitches where you need to do your cable. So if you don't know how to cable, you just put depending on which way you want your cable to lean, left or right, you either have to put your stitches on the cable needle in front or in the back. And so when you're doing it without a cable needle, you get up to those stitches and then you're just basically reorienting your stitches on your needles and then you just knit across them. So in order to do a left leaning cable, you're going to put your needles in behind and slip those stitches off, and you're going to pop it's not going to make sense me explaining it, but the way I remember it when I'm doing when I look at my chart and I'm like, okay, I have to do 2 stitches over 2 stitches left leaning. Left means I put the needles in, well, this is in front for you, but it's behind for me. This is my needle and this is the front of my work and this is the back of my work. I put my needle in the back to slip those stitches off. And so the way I remember it, and for the right to go to the right, that was to the left, to go to the right, I put my needle into the stitches in the front to slip them off. And so the way I remember it is left behind, like I got left behind, or right in front. So I've sort of been thinking of it in terms of Taylor Swift because that's all I think about lately. So I wanted to sit right in front, but I couldn't get tickets, so I got left behind. So if I want a right cable, I go right in front, and if I want a left cable, I get left behind. So that is how I'm remembering it. It's sort of like, you know, how you remember make one left or make one right, which way to pick up your stitch. So for make one right, I remember R means rear, so I come from the rear, like back to front. Anyway, that's my hot tip, and this is my Winter's Beach cardigan. I also am pretty worried that I'm gonna run out of yarn. So I'm a little worried about it, quite worried. This is what I have left of my 3rd ball of yarn. The pattern said I was going to need 5. So I have 2 more left, and I have to finish building up the back, doing the left front, and doing both sleeves. So I don't know. I might end up with some really short sleeves. I don't know what I'm gonna do. We will deal with that when we get there. How about that? Okay, here's my bag. This is my birthday bag that my mom made me. This is the, I can't remember which one it's called. I think it's the town bag, but I am not sure. It's the Fringe Supply Co. used to make bags. Now they don't make them anymore, but you can buy the pattern from Grain Line Studio, which I'll put the link below. And so this is the pattern, and my mom bought some canvas and made it for me because she knows how much I love fringe bags. And so yeah, this was my birthday present from my mom. You can't have one. Well, you can. You can just buy the yarn or buy the fabric and make it for yourself. Okay, blah, 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 blah. I started one other sweater. I had been waiting for this one for a while too, because that same woman that came into our shop a while ago in the summer who was making the Wildflowers tee, she was testing it for Tiffany Lynn, and she showed us that, and then I made that immediately when that came out. She was testing another pattern by Tiffany Lynn called the Highlights Pullover, and I also loved that and wanted to immediately make it. So that pattern just came out last week. As I said, Highlights Pullover by Tiffany Lynn, and I'll put a picture up here of her sample that she knit that I fell head over heels in love with because it is neons and neutrals, and that is right up my alley. Like directly up my alley. So I knew I had to make that. So here's what I am doing. This is how far I've gotten. It is a worsted weight pattern, so it's pretty quick. I've just been working, like I really want to finish my cable cardigan. So that is my main focus. So this is not, as with all my other whips, not getting a lot of love, but this is how far I've gotten so far. This is the start of the back. So this is the top of the back. So you do some garter with some short rows, and then I've done the stockinette section. This is a slip stitch section. So it's fun. It goes quickly because it's interesting. Not all of the sections are the same, and it's not, each section isn't very big before you go on and do something else. So I'll show you what yarn I'm using. I got some Cascade 220 from Polka Dot Creek. We do carry some commercial yarns. We have Cascade, we have some Estelle, we have some Universal worsted, we have some West Yorkshire spinners like sock yarn. So anyway, this is Cascade 220 in the color 359. So it's just like a light gray. It's like a little bit heathered. So I like that. And I am holding that together to make it tweed with yarn that's called Make It Tweed. So I got this yarn from the Yak Yarnery. She's in a yarn store in Alberta. I can't remember where exactly. I think I shouldn't say. I don't remember. It's north of me somewhere. I can't remember. But I'll put a link to her shop below. So she had some it's creative Rico design, and it's called Make It Tweed. And there's a million yards on here. Where's it's 445 meters for 50 grams. So it is like, it does not affect your gauge at all because it's really thin, but it's got all these fun little neps, and it's all the colors of the rainbow. So if you have some like boring yarn that you want to like make it tweed and not buy the fancy, this pattern is Cori worsted by La Bien-Aimée, which is a very splurgy price point. Lots of people can, but I just didn't really want to spend that much money on it. And so it is working out really nicely. Look at all those cool little tweed. You can't even tell that it's not. It's sort of like hedgehog tweedy, which I have a sweater in that I absolutely love and I wear all the time. So I love it. And then my contrast color, let me put all this back in here. My contrast color is, I'm trying to find the tag, here it is. This is my contrast color. It is Lily and Pine. in her Aspen worsted base, and the colorway is called Lipstick. So I have used this colorway before in, I made a Saturday shrug that was like sand and stripes of this lipstick color, but in fingering weight and mohair, or no, sorry. Not sorry. But anyway, I love this color. It's not really like, I'm trying to get it to focus on there. It's just this beautiful, like hot, is that better? Hot neon pink that's out of this world. It's my favorite pink, I think. Okay, this is living, of course, in a pink bag. I got this bag from Botanical Yarn at Knit City, Montreal when I was there in the spring. And it is a great size bag. Like this has, put this one back in here. So this has 4 balls of Cascade Wurst 220 in it. It has 2 balls of this in it. It has 1 ball of this in it. And it has my whip in it and my pattern. And it's just, it's a great size for a sweater or like a big shawl or something like that. So yeah, that's Botanical Yarn. She's in the UK, but she comes to a lot of shows in North America. So yeah, that was that. What? Oh, did you hear my stomach growling? Let's have some more tea to tide that over. My last whip that I will show you is in another bag that my mom made me that you can't have. My mom made me this. It is Tulip Pink fabric. It's a drawstring bag with amazing like rainbowy sparkly cork on the bottom. So, just so good. So at Polka Dot Creek, where I work as a yarn dyer, we do a lot of awesome self-striping colorways, and sometimes we even do them on DK. And we have a whole collection of Christmas yarn and Christmas self-striping yarn, and it's all like in this beautiful display in the store, and I walk past it all the time and I'm like, oh, they're so pretty. And Shelly has a pattern for a DK weight Christmas stocking. It's basically just a really big sock. But her pattern is on Ravelry. I will put a link to that pattern below. I can't remember what the name of the pattern is at the moment. I'll maybe write it here and then you can look for that below. And so she wrote that pattern for her DK self-striping yarn. And so I had the brilliant idea that when I was standing in front of the Christmas display a little while ago, that I should make stockings for all my nieces and nephews for Christmas. Yeah, it's we'll see how many I get done, but I started it and it's really good, just like vanilla knitting, and I'm trying to practice knitting and not looking at it. So that's, what am I doing here? What am I looking for? I don't know what I'm looking for in my bag. Maybe I am looking for the tag so I can remember what the colorway is. That's what I was looking for. Okay. So this is DK self-striping from Polka Dot Creek. And they come in, the DK self-striping comes in sets. So it is 100 gram skein of the self-striping, and then you get 2 20-gram skeins of the contrast color so that you can have enough to do the cuff and the heel and the toe. So this colorway is called Winter Carnival. And it's, I know it's not traditional Christmas colors, but this is for one of my nieces. And I thought that she really loves like this kind of icy blue and this like pink. So I thought she would really like this color. If I do keep going, like if this is easy enough and whatever that I keep going, I'll probably do some more traditional Christmassy colors for my kids. And so anyway, to be determined. We'll see how that goes. The pattern is you're supposed to do cast on toe up and that is not how I do things. So I just cast on, I looked in the pattern and saw how many stitches you're supposed to end up with, and I just cast that on, and I'm going to do like the whole tube and do the toe and then cut in the afterthought heel. But that's basically, the top of the stocking in the pattern is different too. She has you do like I can't remember if it's a fold over and then it has like a little picot edge. Yeah, I think it's a fold over and it has a little picot edge around it. And I wasn't getting that fancy. So I was just like, they'll be fine with just a regular cuff. But yeah, so go check out Shelly's pattern. I'll put a link below. And that is that. We'll see how far I get with those stockings because it's a lot of knitting. I have my 2 kids plus they have 2 cousins that live in town. Well, this is just for like my husband's side of the family. My other side of the family, we don't do stocking, like my side of the family, we don't do stockings with, but we do with Dave's side of the family. So they have 2 cousins that live in town and 1 cousin that lives on the island. And so sometimes he's here, sometimes he's not. So I'm not sure if I'll make 4 or 5, or if I'll even finish 1. Who knows? Let's be honest. Okay, this is getting really long and I still have some plans and some acquisitions to tell you about. So my plans, first of all, when I was at Knit Night last week, there are a number of knitters in my Knit Night who do the Stephen West MCAL and have done them, maybe not every year, but have done a number of them. And every time I see them, I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. And then every time I'm like, I don't need a giant like 4-5 skein fingering weight shawl. And then and then someone brings it and wears it. I'm like, it's so beautiful. It's like they're stunning pieces of art. And like, I don't know. Stephen West MCAL. MCAL means mystery knit along. So you buy the yarn and you get a clue every week. You have no idea what this shawl is going to look like. And Stephen West can be a little fucking crazy. So yeah, some of his designs are a little out there. The last one, last year, a bunch of ladies at work at Polka Dot Creek were going to do it and they cast on and then didn't make it, I don't know, past clue 1 or clue 2 because they just weren't into the design. I actually really liked the design from last year. So a lot of people didn't like, there was like sort of like wings, people called them bat wings on the end, but I've seen a number of people like wearing them and having them wrapped around and it looks absolutely stunning. If you have the right yarn combination, I think anything you make is going to be beautiful. So I was kind of on the fence. I was like, I don't need to make a 4 skein. This year is a 4 skein gradient, is what you're supposed to have for your yarn. And I was like, I don't need to. I have all these sweaters I want to make for myself. I have all this yarn. I have this giant list of things and all these. I went to Knit Night on Wednesday and they were all talking about like, oh, it's going to be so fun and you should do it. And like, I was like, I don't know. I was still kind of on the fence. And then one of the ladies that I go to Knit Night with, Justine, this is all her fault. Hi, Justine. I know you watch this. This is your fault. So she was texting, she was just texting me, I think. And she sent the Sonder yarn kits that they had put together for the MCAL. And she was like, have you seen these? These are so pretty. I was like, fuck, Justine. Yes, I've seen them. They're so beautiful. And like, I want one. And so I was like, oh, I'll just click through and look at them again. And there was a few that I really loved. And then I zoned in on one. And I was like, fine. Okay, I'm just going to do it. I want to be part of it. I want to be like, so my whole month of October, the first clue comes out on October 1st. And so my whole month of October basically is going to be knitting a giant shawl with fingering weight yarn. 4 skeins of it. 4 skeins of fingering weight yarn. Like, it's crazy. It's so dumb, but I will at least be able to say that I did it once. If I don't like it, I don't have to do it again. If I don't like it, I don't have to finish it, but I'll put a picture here of the kit that I bought. It is stunning. And I don't even care what the design is, it's gonna look incredible. All those colors are gonna look so beautiful together. It is so my palette. It is like neutrals, but a little color and like that nice, like kind of blushy pink, and like it's just gonna be so pretty. And I just want to have that, like that notch in my knitting belt, be like, did an MCal with Stephen West, no big deal. Big talk. I probably won't. Who knows if I'll finish it or not. I don't know. Anyway, I have to move on because blah, blah, blah. So stay tuned for that. I don't know when I'm going to try and get back on the like regular podcast groove. So my next podcast, hopefully in 2 weeks. So the MCal won't have started yet, but I will have received my yarn by then, so I can show you. And then after that, stay tuned, and so we'll see how this train wreck goes. The train has left the station. We don't know how it's gonna go. So for my acquisitions, I showed you my bag that I got from Penny from Creek Gardens Crafts, my emotional support yarn bag. And I showed you my sweater quantity of yarn that I got for my birthday from Shelly. I did also get, Shelly also gave me like a birthday present. She has like stockpiles of all this amazing stuff in her house, and every once in a while if someone has a birthday, she like goes into her stockpile of amazing things and like gives them to people, and it's pretty amazing. So she knows how much I love fringe bags, and she has like this stockpile collection of all these amazing fringe bags that she's bought and hasn't used. And she just like, she gave one to Krista for her birthday, and I was so immediately jealous, and now so she gave me one. So I got this fringe bag from Shelly for my birthday. This was a special collab they did with Espace Tricot, I think it was Espace Tricot. It doesn't say on here, but the tag I think said Espace Tricot when she gave it to me. They did a collaboration with the fabric, and then Espace Tricot was the one that was allowed to sell it. So, oh, it's so good. I love it so much. There is a project in here that I haven't started yet that is sort of semi-secret, so I won't show that. It's not like a secret pattern or design or anything, but it's a gift knit for someone that I sometimes watches, so I can't quite show that. But that was an amazing birthday present. And then also she gave me, oh, look at this. Oh my God. Oh my God. Can you believe this yarn? So in November, instead of a Black Friday sale, we did a Pink Friday sale at Polka Dot Creek. And it was like, all our yarn wasn't on sale, but if you bought a certain amount of yarn, then you got free yarn. And we dyed all of this special colorway for the free yarn for this Pink Friday sale. And so if you spent a certain amount, you got, I think it was a little mini bouquet, and another, like there were different levels, and one of the levels you got a sock set. All of the yarn was the same colorway, but just different like sizes basically. So this is the sock set, is Pink Friday 2022. And then the minis are Antique Mauve and Chestnut. But this colorway, like as soon as we dyed it, we were all obsessed with it. Me, Shelly, Krista, those are the main people that I work with. Krista's the other dyer, and Shelly, and we have, I mean, there's lots of other women at the store that I work with, but I spend most of my time in the back with Krista and Shelly, and we were so obsessed with this. This is probably the most perfect colorway, the most perfect speckles, the most perfect colors. I just absolutely love it. And so when there was some left over, Krista and I kept pestering Shelly, when are we allowed to buy the Pink Friday yarn? When are we allowed to buy it? When are we allowed to buy it? And she got so tired of us pestering her. Like apparently she had a plan in her head of stuff that she wanted to use it for. So she got tired of us pestering her and eventually just took it home so we couldn't see it anymore. It was like out of sight, out of mind. And then for Krista's birthday, she knit Krista a Sophie shawl, I think, with this color held together, I think with this color. And then she gave me this one for my birthday, and I get to do whatever I want with it. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's so beautiful and special. I'm probably just gonna ooh and ah and just like admire it for a long time before I find the perfect thing to make with it. So thank you, Shelly. I love it. What else did I get? If you didn't know this, I'm on 2 podcasts. We have a podcast at work called Easily Distracted by Yarn, and we podcast semi-regularly. So on that podcast, we showed my friend Krista at work made a Alpine Bloom tee by Caitlin Hunter, and she used, I think it was gray as her main color. I'll put a picture up here of the pattern. And then she used Polka Dot Creek gray, and then she used Mary Margaret Fibers Summer Lovin' as her contrast color in the color work for the flowers, and it blew my mind. It is like, oh, it is so gorgeous. If I can get a picture from Krista, I will put a picture up here of her like FO of this pattern of that Alpine Blooms tee, because it is absolutely stunning. And Candace, who is the dyer of Mary Margaret Fibers, she works with us at Polka Dot Creek. She's also a yarn dyer, so we carry Mary Margaret Fibers yarn in Polka Dot Creek shop as well, online and in store. And she dyed multiple batches of this color because it's just so amazing, and it will be perfect for color work for something. I don't think I'm going to make the Alpine Bloom, but I was thinking actually of making maybe another Miserina like this with like a dark main color and this for the contrast color. I think it would look really good with like a navy or a dark purple or just like a dark gray or something. So anyway, she kept selling out, so I had to get one before it was all sold out again. So I got that for myself. And then I got some other yarn for, I got some yarn for my anniversary. It was our anniversary in August, our wedding anniversary. And then I also got some, sorry for the crinkling, but I did some sample knitting for Jody of the Grocery Girls last month, 2 months ago. When her new hat pattern was coming out. So I did some sample / test knitting. I was test knitting the pattern and did a couple samples for her. She is also a yarn dyer, and her yarn is called Frankie Gray Fibers. And so in return for the sample / test knitting, I got a credit for some Frankie Gray Fibers yarn. And so I ordered this mohair kit. This is a kit for the new Joji Locatelli colorwork sweater. It is called Instant Crush. I'll put a picture up here of it. And Jody was very smart and had a sample knitter knit up a bunch of different samples of a bunch of different color combinations for that sweater. And I'll put a picture up here of, if I can find it. I don't know if it's still on her website or not, but if it's still there, I'll put it up here. And that is the colorway that I ordered, because neons and neutrals. It's not really a neon pink, but it's like, I like that like neutral, but with a pop. I love it. The pattern is you hold 2 strands of mohair together, but I think I'm probably going to hold a strand of fingering and a strand of mohair together instead, just to give it a little bit more, just to make it less see-through, I guess. I don't know. Which I should be able to do from stash, because I have lots of silver yarn, I have lots of dark gray yarn, I have lots of natural yarn, and I have some pink that will probably work. So that should work. Who knows when that's gonna happen, but hey, I had credit for free yarn, so I used it. And lastly, it was our 12th anniversary in August, our wedding anniversary, and the 12th, the traditional or modern, I can't remember, one of them, the traditional or modern gift was linen and silk. And I was like, okay. So just go to a yarn store and say, I need some linen or silk yarn, and they will help you out. So he went to the Little Bow Fiber Company, which is very close to my house, dangerously close to my house. I've mentioned that before. And it is this teeny tiny little yarn shop, but it is just chock-a-block. It is full of amazing, beautiful yarn. So he went in there and Michelle helped him out. He said, I need linen yarn and I need silk yarn. And so she definitely did him a solid and she did well. So first of all, he got me some Knitting for Olive pure silk. These are 100% silk. They are, I'm pretty sure they're fingering weight. These are 50-gram balls, 250 meters per ball. Yeah, so that's a fingering weight. But isn't that a beautiful color? So that will make a really nice t-shirt or something like that. She was very smart. She made him get 3 because she knew that you can't really do much with one skein of those. And next he got, this one is, so that one was silk. This one is merino, silk, and yak. So the band is on upside down, which is driving me crazy, but so this is Fantasy Fibers Yarn Company. She is also a local dyer here in Calgary, and it is a DK weight, 60% superwash merino, 20% silk, and 20% yak. So it is really squishy. So he picked that out. So that will probably end up being like a toque or a pair of socks or something for him, because he really liked this color. He just kept talking about how much he really liked this color. So I think that was a little bit of a selfish purchase on his part. And then lastly, he got me one with linen in it. So this is Manos del Uruguay Milo, and it is a merino linen blend, what's the content? 65% merino and 35% linen. So I haven't looked this up yet. I wanted to look it up on Ravelry. It looks like it's a self-striping. So I want to look it up and see what it looks like all knit up, and then I can try and figure out what I'm going to use it for. Okay, I'm at an hour and a half here and I'm getting a headache and I'm tired of my own voice. So I think that was all I had to show. That was a lot, but it has been almost 4 weeks since my last podcast. So that's my excuse. Yeah, I am going to go, I'm going to eat some lunch and I'm going to edit my podcast probably all afternoon, because that's how long it takes me usually. And I'm going to finish watching Nicole's podcast, and I'm going to work on my cable cardigan, and I'm going to cast on that other project, that little secret project that shouldn't take too long. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you've been around for a long time, I appreciate you keeping on watching and posting nice comments below. I really love I really love reading all the comments and seeing what you guys like and all that kind of stuff. So please leave comments below and hit like and subscribe and share and all that kind of stuff. And I will try to be back to you again soon, hopefully in the next couple weeks. So yeah, thanks for watching.